What's up, everybody? This is Johnny Basement, and welcome to the basement where we talk about all types of sports. I am not a professional, not even claiming to be one. I am a diehard sports fan speaking to you, the diehard sports fan. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button and the bell notice so you know when I'm speaking. And I hope you all brought your basement mentality. My 10 to 12 know what that is. My 10 to 12 regulars. Basement mentality is all about everything you do starts in the basement. Anything you do in life starts in the basement. This channel started in the basement. My short-term goal was 1,000, and now we're more than halfway out of the basement toward that goal of 1,000. Then from there, it's going to be 2,000 and beyond as this channel continues to grow. I thank you, my 10 to 12, for supporting this channel almost every time that I post. I thank you guys, man. I love and appreciate each and every one of you, okay? Mikhailov, I'm going to get to that PHL hockey. I promise you. You asked me, I promise. And what am I speaking about to new people? New people, man, my 10 to 12 know. If you guys have a comment or a suggestion, this channel is for you. Let me know and I'll do it. I'll go on there and review what you'd like me to review. You got a suggestion, a poll that you guys would like to see? Do it. I'll drop it in there, man. I'll look them over. Anyway, today what we are all doing, we're all going to go to class. This is next gen stats class. Super nerds are killing sports. Killing them. Let me tell you how I came across why I wanted to do this today. Now, I know this has been going on for a few years, but back in 2020, just because I watch games to watch the game, okay? Back in 2020 in the World Series, the Dodgers and the Rays were playing, okay? This is when it first started kicking in, like, what the hell's going on? Blake Snell for the Rays, 6th inning, 1-0 Rays. 2 hits, 9 strikeouts, only 73 pitches, but because there was a man on and 1 out, statistics and this new technology and analytics, they all say that Blake Snell, 3rd time through any batting order, doesn't pitch very well and gives up a lot of runs. So forget the 73 pitches only, forget the 9 strikeouts, forget the 2 hits against a monster batting order like the Dodgers, forget all that. Because statistics and technology says Blake Snell's going to screw this up this 3rd time through the batting order. So we better get him out of there. We better get him on out of there and bring in the bullpen. And what happens? You already know what happens. They blow it. Why? Because technology cannot tell you that now the batters on the Dodgers who could not hit Blake Snell are now revived. They're pumped up. Yes, he's out of there. Bring that bullpen in. Depression to new life. It gives them new life. Technology doesn't do that. Super nerds are killing this game. Today, guys, we're going to class. Me included. I don't know any of these things that you see in the background. We're talking about a weighted on base average. What the hell is that? I don't know. I also noticed the other day in the hockey game. All right? This is baseball only. We're going to do sports on different days. This is a world of crap stats that maybe you didn't even know existed, okay? So, briefly in hockey, I'm watching a game. They show Nathan MacKinnon for the Colorado Avalanche. 66 shot attempts. I'm rounding it off. It's roughly 66 shot attempts, 32 shots on goal, 2 goals in the Stanley Cup. So I'm like, all right, I get the 32 shots on goal total, and I get the 2 goals. What the hell is a shot attempt? What is it? What is an attempt to shoot in hockey? How does that count as a shot on goal? Is a shot attempt when the guy's back in his own end of the rink by his own net and slaps the puck and it hits a player, hits the plexiglass, goes around, goes into the stands, knocks a guy's drink out of his hand when nowhere near the net? Is that a shot attempt? Who determines the shot attempt? Was he at the blue line, at their blue line, mid-ice? Did he pass it in? Did he dump the puck in? How do you determine if he didn't just dump the puck in the other end so they could switch lines? Is that a shot attempt? Why isn't it a shot attempt then? Who determines these shot attempts? That's an example of a dumb statistic. Either it's a shot on goal or it's not. I don't care about where else the puck freaking goes. Okay? That is a hockey example. All right, that's just an example of one. We're going to do hockey on a whole different day. But this is when I said the other day, I'm going to start going over this stuff. Normally, guys, My regulars here know that I speak to y'all. I don't really look at charts and notes and do all that, but damn it, I had to pull up the notes on this. We're going in together because I don't know what any of this stuff is, and when I tried to write it down and memorize it and kind of talk about it, slinging it, I still forget. I still forget. I'm not like some of these channels that guys know their stuff, but sit here and go, well, we have 66 shot attempts and 32 goals, and then McKinnon scored over here, and then this dude hit a home run over here in the third inning. I don't need that. I know it off the top of my head. I don't need that crap. I don't do that here. But today we have to do it because I don't know what the hell how to explain weighted on base average. We're just going to do a handful of these guys today because who thinks of this stuff? Really, let's go over weighted on base average. I have a few special ones in here that we're gonna touch on. Okay. Now, for the occasion, I am going to show that I'm going to pay attention in class today, and I brought my spectacles so we can follow along together. We're going to be studious and we're going to pay attention. I will be doing the reading for the class because we're all in this together. Weighted on base average, wOBA. Let's start with that. Can you imagine sitting in a bar with a bunch of other beer bellies drinking Pabst Blue Ribbons straight from the can, saying, man, I wonder what this guy's wOBA is that's batting right now. What is his wOBA? Gee, I don't know. Let's try and figure that out. Well, let's see first what the definition of weighted on base average actually means. wOBA is a version of on-base percentage that accounts for how a player reached base. Instead of simply considering whether a player actually reached base, stop right there. It is a version of on-base percentage that accounts for how a player reached base. Instead, here's the key, instead, big word, separating the two parts of the sentence. Instead of simply considering whether a player actually reached base. What? Wouldn't I know? First of all, how did he reach base? I assume he hit the ball and ran down the first base line, and if he beat the throw to first, if there's one in the infield, that he actually made it. If he doesn't beat the throw, he's out. Let's break down, really, I'm sorry, there's more. I have to read to the class here. The value for each method of reaching base is determined by how much that event is actually worth in relation to projected runs scored. Can you picture these guys drinking Pabst Blue Ribbon doing this? Example, this is awesome. This is really a lot of thought into this here. A double is worth more than a single. Wow, I learned something. A double, 2 bases, is worth more than 1. Wow. So if I have 2 apples and 2 more I get on the table, that equals 4. So the 4 would be more than the 2. Wow. All this time and years I've been watching baseball, I never knew that a wOBA meant, basically, for example, as they say example, a double is worth more than a single. Wow. I hope you guys are paying attention here because we're about to dive into the formula of the weighted on-base average. Okay, so we can all understand. Ready? I'm not. Okay. Let's get into this. The formula. Now, you got to make you wonder. Think of the guy that thought of this crap while I'm reading this. Think of the guy that had the time to actually sit back, not care about the game, and actually think of this stuff. The formula. The formula for weighted on-base average is where a factor indicates the adjusted run expectancy of a batting event in the context of the season as a whole. Where factor indicates the adjusted run expectancy of a batting event in the context of the season as a whole. So in case you got lost on that sentence, they put a nice parentheses in there for us for a nice, easy mathematical figure. Who knew all this went? Now remember, this is just if a guy actually beats out a throw to first base and how he got there. Okay, I remembered that from the first paragraph. I pay attention because my glasses are helping me out here. It's good to be a 4-eyed guy like myself. Ready for the easy formula here, guys? This is how running from home plate to first base works. Unless you get a double, remember, because that's worth more than a single. Unintentional base on balls factor. You got to times that by the unintentional base on balls. So the unintentional base on balls factor versus the unintentional base on ball. What exactly is an unintentional base? So the pitcher didn't really intend to walk him? Because I know the intentional walk happens, but just in a normal scenario, is he trying not to walk him? So is that the unintentional part? Let's just move along. So we're going to times the unintentional base on balls, and we're going to add the hit by pitch factor. You have to add how he got on base, because hit by pitch factor, plus you got to add the single factor times the single plus double factor times the double factor plus the triple factor times the triple factor plus the home run factor times the home run factor divided by at-bats plus unintentional base on balls addition. You got to add the sacrifice fly plus another hit by pitch. All of these factor in to how the guy got a hit and ran to first base, or possibly a double, which class we've already learned what about the double? It's worth more than a single. Shame on me and anybody else out there who ever said you would never need algebra or trigonometry ever in life. Who knew all the baseball games we watched all along had this? Who knew? Wow. How wrong I was. How another score for my parents when I was a kid that told me I would always need some of this stuff in life. And I said I would never need algebra. And sure enough, Mom and Dad, you're right again. Right, I'm damn near 50 years old and I'm still saying you're right, Mom and Dad. Wow. Moving right along, guys, we're going to go and get your heads off that desk. Stop sleeping in class. We're going on to the next of my favorites. Oh, and I got a couple more in here that are favorites. Isolated power. What is the ISO? Of course we all talk about ISOs every time someone comes up. To hell with a batting average, home run, RBIs. To hell with all that basic crap. Isolated power for a batter. Isolated power is short for ISO. We're going to put ISO in there, so now we all know what that means. When I refer to ISO, I'm referring to isolated power. Okay? So ISO measures the raw power of a hitter by taking only extra base hits and the type of extra base hit into account. So I'm going to assume the extra base hit is a double or a triple, because a single isn't really extra bases, right? It's just a single. So a double, a triple would be extra base? Is that what this sports nerd is trying to tell us? We're only taking extra base hits. And the type of extra base hit it is. Now, I guess, does the home run count? Or is it just infield play? Oh, we must read on. We must read on so I can not have a sleepless night over this. Oh, he gives us an example. For example, a player who goes 1 for 5 with a double has an ISO, isolated power, of only 200. 1 for 5 with a double has an ISO of 200. But a player who goes 2 for 5 with a single and a double has a higher batting average than the first player, but the same ISO of only 200. So let's see. A player who goes 1 for 5 with a double only has an isolated raw power of 200. But a player who goes 2 for 5 with a single and a double, remember from the first part of class, a double's worth more than a single. So 2 for 5 with a single and a double has a higher batting average than the first player, but the same ISO of 200. Wow. So that means a guy who gets 2 hits out of 5 at-bats has a higher batting average than the guy that only got 1 hit out of 5 at-bats. My mind is exploding. What unbelievable information this is. But the reason, now I'm guessing here, because I'm such a studious guy. The player that has the same, they both have the same ISO of 200. Now, how could that be if he had a double and a single, and the only guy had a 1 for 5 with a double? How could they have the same isolated power? Because ISO is for extra base hits, and they both had a double. So apparently the single doesn't even count. Doesn't count for your ISO. The single just doesn't matter. Who cares about the single? Wow. That's why they both have an ISO of 200. Wow, thank you, sports nerds. These are things I would absolutely 100% never think of or care about while I'm watching my team get their asses kicked by the Houston Astros last night when I finally turned the game off at 9-0 when they had men on base and the Astros were still having a merry-go-round on the base. I never once considered the ISO power that they were not displaying on the New York Mets. Thank you. But now the formula, guys, in case you want, you want to do this during a game, instead of keeping score, let's do these formulas during the game. Let's practice. 1 double plus 1 times a double plus a triple, 2 times the triple, times 3 times the home run, divided by the at-bats or slugging percentage. I guess you could just mix it up, whatever you feel like, equals your batting average. Wow. So now we can learn it's useful because it's focusing strictly on extra base hits. So singles apparently don't matter. The sports nerds know nothing and they don't watch games. So the single just doesn't matter. The single, if you get a single, you might as well just go back to the dugout because it doesn't matter, okay? Just doesn't matter. So a raw player apparently is only considered a raw if he can get a double or a triple. And they never really mentioned the home run, so that's kind of the I don't know, the elephant in the room. It's kind of, maybe you do what you want with that. Because isn't that an extra base hit, a home run? I don't know. Let's move along. I did write this one down. What was my other favorite? Oh, yes. Win probability added. That should be over here as well. Oh, there it is, the wRAA. Win probability added. Well, guys, let's see what win probability added is. I hope you all are following along here. Get your head off the desk. You're drooling all over it. Get your head off the desk. Pay attention. You're in college now. Baseball, next gen stats college. And we're all in our mid-40s, whatever. Win probability added, guys, WPA. So if you hear me say WPA, I'm referring to win probability added. Definition. wRAA quantifies the percent change in a team's chances of winning from one event to the next. It does so by measuring the importance of given plate appearance in the context of the game. For instance, a homer in a one-run game is worth more than a homer in a blowout. I guess a home run is more significant in a one-run game than it is in a blowout. So the home run, the one-run game, do we have the one run? Did we add on to the one run? Are we up by one run? Is it in the 5th inning, the 1st inning, the 3rd inning, the 7th inning? It's worth more than a homer and a blowout. Was the blowout in the beginning of the game, later in the game? When did this home run happen? Was his home run the first home run in the blowout? When it wasn't a blowout yet? There's so many questions these sports nerds don't think of. They don't explain this right. So we're going to skip over what Josh Donaldson did, okay? And a player, well, maybe it will help us. As an example, when Josh Donaldson came to the plate in the bottom of the 9th on May 26th of 2015, the Blue Jays trailed by 2 and had men on 2nd and 3rd with nobody out. Okay? Now they trailed, right? They trailed by 2. They had men on 2nd and 3rd with nobody out. That gave him a 43% win expectancy. Stop right there. What beer belly that we spoke about, the Pabst Blue Ribbon guy, do you think that he knew that there was a 43% win expectancy there? No. He's cursing at the TV, screaming and yelling if he's a Blue Jay fan, get a damn hit and get those runs in and tie this freaking game up. That's what he's saying. He's not saying, I wonder what the win probability freaking added is. You guys get my point here? You guys get my point? This guy here, these sports nerds, they sit there and do this. This is what they do. And sadly, these baseball teams are going by this crap now. Who is there doing this? The formula. Let's just jump to the formula. The team's win expectancy after a plate appearance on a stolen base, caught stealing, or picked off. The team's win expectancy before that plate appearance or the stolen base, caught stealing, or picked off. I'm assuming PK is picked off. Now, wouldn't you think the win expectancy would go down a little bit if you were caught stealing or picked off? Wouldn't that make your run probability a little bit less because you're one guy short now? Moving right along. Moving right along. Guys, I don't know which one to do next because we have 2 more to go. Just two. And they're both my favorite. But I'm going to do this one next, and then I'm going to say my ultimate favorite for the last one. It's a freaking toss-up between the two. The wRAA. The wRAA. Weighted runs above average. Weighted runs above average. wRAA? The wRAA? Let's just call it the wRAA with the W silent, okay? I'm just going to throw that in there. The W is going to be silent. But if you hear me say wRAA, we're referring to weighted runs above average. Let's go to the definition of weighted runs above average. wRAA measures how many runs a hitter contributes compared with an average player. Now, how many runs a hitter contributes compared with an average player? Now, is this hitter an average player? They just leave us hanging. So a player with a 0 wRAA would be considered league average offensively. It's offensive that he has a 0 wRAA, would it not be? What the hell is a wRAA? Let's continue on. It's calculated by finding the difference in the number of runs contributed between a player and a league average, which is determined by the league average wOBA. Now, we covered the wOBA, right? That was the weighted on-base average, where we learned that a double was worth more than a single. Remember the wOBA? Double, 2 is worth more than the single. 1, 2, 1. That's the wOBA. Well, apparently, the wRAA is determined by the extra base hit. Because the wRAA uses the wOBA to determine how many runs a player is worth. A player with an above-average wOBA will have an above-average wRAA, but unlike the wOBA, the wRAA is a counting stat. A counting stat. As a result, the players with a higher number of plate appearances can accrue a higher wRAA than an equal player with fewer plate appearances. Well, I would figure, I'm going to go out on a limb here, guys, but I would figure if I had fewer plate appearances, my average may not be as high as the next guy because I'm not in the game. Or it could be misleading and it could be higher because it was my first major league at bat and I got a hit and I'm 1 for 1, I'm hitting 1,000. God bless me, right? But there's going to be a stat for that one day also. You know, I'm waiting for the stat that shows how many steps it took to get to first base from Aaron Judge, who's like 6'7", and Gleyber Torres, who's like 5'10". I want to know how many steps they take. Did they run right out of the box? Did they not run right out of the box? When Aaron Judge steps out of the box, is he halfway to first base already? Come on, sports nerds, wake up and tell me this stuff. Now, the formula for this is you take your wOBA of the entire league. So you got to find out every extra base hit of every MFer on every team that has the nerve to get an extra base hit, because we learned that the single means nothing. Now you divide all that by the annual wOBA scale, and of course we all know what the annual wOBA scale is because we watch games and drink our Schlitz and our Pabst Blue Ribbon or your Colt 45s or your freaking Old English malt liquors or whatever the hell you do, right? We know. I mean, we're always thinking about what the annual wOBA is. All of us. Yeah, that's something. And then when you do that, times it by the PA, times it by the PA. We're gonna the player average. We're gonna be all right with that. Why it's useful? It's not. Moving right along. This is my favorite, guys. My absolute favorite. This is our last point of the class. This is our last point today. Batting average on balls in play. We all know the BABIP. Hey, man, what's this guy's BABIP? You know what that sounds like? I got freaking BABIP. Forget COVID. I got BABIP, man. I got a day to live. I got no time left in my life because I got freaking BABIP, and it's spreading. batting average on balls in play. Wow. What does this mean? Let's find out. This is my favorite one that I've found so far out of the 50 gazillion ones there are out there. So, guys say, we're almost out of class. We're almost out of class. I hope you're learning a lot here on these fun and useful baseball stats here and analytics that we had no idea even existed. But this is why guys like Blake Snell get pulled into the sixth inning, because there's some goon out there looking at all this crap and thinking of it as we speak. So, probably thinks I'm complimenting him during this whole spiel too. Batting average on balls in play. The BABIP. Definition.
Okay, guys, BABIP measures a player's batting average exclusively on balls hit into the field of play, removing outcomes not affected by opposing defenses, namely home runs and strikeouts. So I guess a home run isn't really a ball in play. Now, a player's batting average, if you didn't know this, it's exclusively on balls hit into the field of play, removing outcomes not affected by the opposing defense. So all this time I'm watching baseball, who knew that a batting average is affected by if you get on base or not? Because if the defense isn't affecting the play, then that means you got on base. So your batting average would go up. Wow. What? I've been watching baseball for over 4 decades and never knew that a guy that gets a hit, hopefully it's a wOBA, double or a triple. But if he makes it on first base, his average goes up. Wow. Oh, I tell you, man, this is the internet. I mean, this is something else, man. Wow, my head's exploding, man. I'm going to be watching baseball a whole different way tonight. Anyway, so a strikeout. Now a home run is not in the field of play because it's in the parking lot, so we can't. Now, does that not go on his batting average? I think it does. But I'm not a sports nerd. I'm not going to challenge you guys. I graduated high school over 35 years ago, or whatever the hell it was. Okay, and I'm a 4-decade Jets fan. 4-decade New York Jets fan. Okay, so how smart could I be? I mean, really, how smart could I be? But I am going to go out on a limb here. If we're going to be talking about BABIP and batting average on balls in play, I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to think that the strikeout is not a play. It's not a ball that goes into play when you strike out. Okay, he has here strikeouts. You can't count that in on batting average on balls in play. It's because he struck out. So moving right along. A hitter who goes 2 for 5 with a home run and a strikeout would have a .333 BABIP average. That means he's 1 for 3. 1 for 3 on balls he actually put into play. So that means that he's 1 for 3, but he really, from what I've read here, could be 2 for 3 because he could have hit a home run and struck out on the other one. Did he strike out on the other 2 times at bat? The 1 for 3, was it a freaking single, double? Was it an error? I mean, what happened here? What was he walked? I mean, that wouldn't be a ball in play, right? So this is something else. I could barely wait till I get to the formula. The formula is a hit, home run, a hit or a home run. I'm not doing it right. Sorry, guys. I'm sorry. This class has been a long class. It went way longer than I expected, so I'm hanging in there along with you guys hanging in there. We're going to take our hit and home runs, and we're going to take the combination of that. We're going to divide that by at-bats, strikeouts, home runs, and sacrifice flies. Now, sacrifice fly, obviously the sports nerd doesn't know that a sacrifice fly does not go against your batting average or for it. It is a sacrifice fly, so you cannot factor a sacrifice fly into your batting average. But what do I know? Again, I'm a 4 decades Jets fan, New York Jets fan, so how really smart could I be? Anyway.
What did we learn here today, guys? Oh, I'm doing a day on football, hockey, and basketball as well on the stats that we knew nothing about when we go to watch a game with our friends. We sit there, and who knew that we should be checking out wRAAs and wOBAs and BABIPs and ISO and raw power, and we learn that doubles are more than a single. We learn that a strikeout is not a ball in play. Okay? We taught the sports nerd that a sacrifice fly does not go against a batting average. It doesn't even go for it. It doesn't affect it. But again, what do we know? How can we challenge the sports nerds? I don't know where these people come from. I don't know where they come from. How in the hell can you sit there? Who could sit there and watch a game like this with all this stuff going on? I grew up watching games with my father. My father would come home, and back then, I was the remote control. Get up, turn to Channel 4, we're watching the Giants, or, the Mets, the Yankees, whatever, and I had to sit there and fix rabbit ears and stand like this and hold it up here and, do all these things. And we watched the game. My father, shame on him for not teaching me what a wRAA is. Shame on him for not teaching me that a strikeout wasn't a ball in play. Shot attempts, goalie save averages, and how we're gonna don't get me started. Johnny, don't go there yet. We're gonna do hockey. This is the most ridiculous era of technology when it comes to sports. These guys that make this crap do not watch the game. And if they do, they ain't watching it like me and you. Because if there's a guy on second and third, I ain't thinking that he has a 43% win percentage in the bottom of the freaking ninth. I'm yelling and screaming, this MF better get a damn hit and get these runs in and tie this freaking game up. That's what I'm thinking. You think about a damn win percentage. A win percentage is going to be pretty bad if he doesn't make it there. And another thing, a win percentage, if the guy doesn't hit a 3-run shot, then we don't win. If he gets out, we don't win. There's your win percentage. There's your formula. Get a damn hit. If you hung in there this long with me, I love you. I love you anyway if you got halfway through the class. Because when I was in school, before I became a cross-country trucker and did all that stuff over the road, and moved refrigerators up and down flights of stairs in the Bronx and Brooklyn, I've done all these types of jobs, okay? But mainly I was a cross-country trucker and an oil tanker driver in Texas for a little while. All right? Guys, I watch a game to watch a freaking game. I'm old school. That's what I do. You guys see me at my local places that I go to. I'll especially be at every Sunday for football, and I'll be at Jet games this year too. I'll let you all know when I'm there, and come on down and hang out. Come on down and hang out, man. As I'm just a fan speaking to fans, and this is what it's all about. We're gonna watch the game. We're not gonna be doing all this crap here. This is some real BS. Anyway, if you hung in there long enough with me, I love you all guys. I do. You're in the basement. My name's Johnny Basement, and we are gonna be doing football next. The football stats that you didn't know. I love you, and I'm out.